step back in time to the vibrant beer scene of the 1960s, when unique brews were crafting unforgettable flavors across America. Many of these once popular beers have since faded into obscurity, overshadowed by the rise of big breweries and changing tastes. But nostalgia is brewing strong, and there's a growing demand to revisit these forgotten classics. Join us as we rediscover 20 legendary beers from the 1960s that beer lovers are eager to see make a comeback. Let's pour a pint of history and toast to these lost treasures. Number 1. Schaefer Beer. Schaefer Beer, a prominent name in American brewing, was crafted by the F&M Schaefer Brewing Company based in Brooklyn, New York. Established in 1842, Schaefer achieved national fame by the 1960s, hitting its peak in 1962 with a remarkable 12 million barrels sold. Renowned for its crisp, clean taste and distinctive red, white, and blue cans, Schaefer was a staple in many households. However, as tastes shifted in the 1970s and 1980s, Schaefer struggled to adapt to the evolving market. The brand faced mounting challenges and fell behind its competitors. In 1981, Schaefer was acquired by the Strom Brewery Company, which itself was later taken over by Pabst Brewing Company in 1999. Today, Schaefer exists as a label under Pabst, but no longer holds the independent status it once enjoyed. As we remember the crisp, refreshing taste of Schaefer beer, we can't help but reflect on other iconic brews that have faced similar fates. Next, we turn our attention to Blast Beer, another brewing legend that fell victim to the changing tides of consumer preference. How did these once powerful brands succumb to the evolving market? Let's explore. Number 2. Blatz Beer. Blatz Beer, a beloved Midwestern brew, was produced by the Blatz Brewing Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Founded in 1847, Blatz rose to prominence by the 1960s, reaching its peak in 1966 with an impressive 8.5 million barrels sold. The beer was celebrated for its smooth, easy-drinking flavor and its strong ties to Milwaukee's rich brewing heritage. Despite its success, Blatz's fortunes began to decline after the 1960s. The brand struggled through a series of mergers and acquisitions in the 1970s and 1980s. By the early 1990s, Pabst Brewing Company, which had acquired Blatz in the 1950s, phased out the brand entirely. While there have been occasional rumors of revivals, Blatz remains largely a forgotten name in the American beer landscape. As we reminisce about Blatz, we look ahead to another classic brew that faced a similar fate. Stay tuned as we uncover the story of yet another iconic beer that has faded from memory. Number 3. Burgermeister Beer. Burgermeister beer was a standout choice for budget-conscious drinkers in the 1960s, thanks to its affordability and widespread appeal. Produced by the Burgermeister Brewing Corporation, it reached its zenith in 1967, selling an impressive 18 million barrels. This massive success marked it as one of the most popular beers of the era, known for its crisp taste and the catchy slogan, "Burgermeister Beer, it's Burgermeister time." The beer quickly became a favorite among many, offering a satisfying brew without breaking the bank. Despite its initial success, Burgermeister's dominance was not destined to last. As the 1970s and 1980s unfolded, consumer preferences began to shift towards premium and more expensive beers. The rise of craft brews and higher-end options gradually eroded the market for budget beers like Burgermeister. By the late 1980s, the brand struggled to keep up with these changing tastes and trends, leading to its decline and eventual disappearance from store shelves. Burgermeister beer's story is a testament to how swiftly consumer preferences can evolve and how even the most popular brands can become relics of the past. As we reminisce about Burgermeister's heyday, the story of another once popular beer beckons. Stay tuned as we delve into the fate of yet another iconic brew that has slipped into obscurity. Number 4. Drury's Beer. Drury's Beer was a beloved staple in the Midwest during the 1960s. earning a devoted following for its smooth taste and distinctive green glass bottle. Originally brewed by the Rural Brewing Company in Wheeling, West Virginia, Drury's reached its peak in 1968, with a notable 7.5 million barrels sold. The brand was well known for its easy drinking flavor and memorable mascot, Mr. Drury, a cheerful green keg man who became a familiar face in their advertisements. Despite its success, Drury's faced significant challenges in the 1970s. The brewing landscape was shifting rapidly, with national brands gaining dominance and presenting stiff competition. In response to these pressures, Drury's was sold to the Associated Brewing Company in 1963. The brand changed hands several times over the following years, and while it managed to maintain some presence in the market, it gradually faded from store shelves by the late 1980s. In a bid to revive the classic brew, a Chicago entrepreneur attempted to bring Drury's back in 2011. Despite the effort, the revival failed to recapture the original charm and success of the brand. The story of Drury's beer highlights the challenges faced by regional favorites in a rapidly evolving market and serves as a nostalgic reminder of a bygone era in American brewing. As we reflect on Drury's history, let's turn our attention to another once popular beer that has become a forgotten chapter in the brewing world. Number 5. Drury's Old Stock Ale. Drury's Old Stock Ale was not a separate company, but rather a specific style of beer brewed by Drury's Brewery, known for its popular Drury's beers. Produced by the Rural Brewing Company, which was renowned for its Drury's line, Old Stock Ale was a notable offering during its time. While precise sales figures for Old Stock Ale are not available, Drury's as a brand reached its peak in 1968, selling a substantial 7.5 million barrels. This impressive sales volume likely included Old Stock Ale, contributing to the overall success of Drury's. Old Stock Ale was celebrated for its rich malty flavor, fitting well with Drury's reputation for smooth, easy-drinking beers. However, the 1970s brought significant challenges for Drury's brewery, including increased competition from national brands and frequent changes in ownership. These issues contributed to the decline of both Drury's and its specific offerings, like Old Stock Ale. Despite efforts to revive the Drury's brand in 2011, it remains unclear whether Old Stock Ale was part of the comeback attempt. Today, Drury's overall presence in the market is limited, and the fate of Old Stock Ale is a poignant reminder of the difficulties breweries face when consumer preferences shift. As we reflect on Drury's Old Stock Ale and its impact, let's explore the story of another once popular beer, Falstaff beer, to gain further insight into the challenges faced by breweries navigating a changing landscape. Number 6. Falstaff beer. Falstaff beer, brewed by the Falstaff Brewing Corporation in St. Louis, Missouri, has a rich history dating back to the Lamp Brewery, established in 1840. The Falstaff name was adopted in 1903, inspired by Shakespeare's jovial knight. Throughout the 1960s, Falstaff experienced a significant surge in popularity, rivaling major brands like Schlitz and Miller. By 1965, Falstaff had reached its peak, selling over 7 million barrels. The brand was celebrated for its easy drinking lagers and its memorable slogan, "Falstaff, the refreshing taste." Despite its success, the 1970s ushered in challenges for Falstaff. The growing competition and a shift in consumer preferences toward lighter beers led to a decline in sales. The brewery underwent numerous mergers and acquisitions, which eroded its independent identity. By the late 1980s, Falstaff beer had largely disappeared from store shelves. Today, while the Pampas Brewing Company holds the rights to the Falstaff brand, the beer itself is largely forgotten in the American beer scene. Falstaff's story serves as a reminder of how swiftly changing tastes and industry dynamics can impact even the most established brands. As we reminisce about Falstaff's storied past, let's delve into the tale of another once prominent beer to uncover more about the evolution of the brewing industry. Number 7. Fall City beer. Fall City Beer, a cherished name in Louisville's brewing history, was crafted by the Fall City Brewing Company, established in 1905. Unlike many family-owned breweries, Fall City emerged from a coalition of local tavern and grocery store owners aiming to challenge the prevailing local monopoly. Named in tribute to Louisville's nickname, Fall City, the brewery quickly made its mark as a significant regional player. In the 1960s, Fall City Beer thrived, competing effectively with national brands. The brewery's light-bodied pale lager, celebrated for its easy drinking quality, gained widespread popularity. As distribution expanded across 7 states, Fall City Beer reached an impressive peak of 750,000 barrels annually. The slogan "Fall City, Louisville's finest" resonated deeply with locals, capturing both their hearts and taste buds. However, the 1970s brought difficulties. The rise of national brands and a shift in consumer preferences toward lighter beers created challenges for Fall City, which was known for its pale lagers. By 1975, the Fall City Brewing Company was acquired by Hillman Brewing Company, and the brand gradually diminished from store shelves. Although there was an attempt to revive Fall City in 2010, it remains a regional name, far removed from its 1960s prominence. Fall City's story is a poignant reminder of how brewing trends and market dynamics can influence a brand's trajectory. As we reflect on Fall City's legacy, let's explore the history of another once-renowned beer to further understand the evolution of the brewing industry. Number 8. Goebel Beer. Goebel Beer, a beloved name in Detroit, was brewed by the Goebel Brewing Company. Established in 1873 by German immigrants August Goebel Sr. and Theodore Gorin, Goebel quickly became a prominent player in the Midwest beer scene. By the 1960s, Goebel was a household name in Detroit, known for its quality lagers and cream ales, and was celebrated with the catchy slogan, "Goebel, the Goebel Beer." In 1960, Goebel sold around 300,000 barrels, a testament to its popularity at social gatherings and sporting events, where it built a strong, loyal following. However, the 1970s brought significant changes to the beer market. As consumer preferences shifted towards lighter beers and national brands gained dominance, Goebel struggled to keep up with the evolving tastes. The brewery's focus on traditional styles made it difficult to adapt to these new trends. In 1979, Goebel was acquired by the Stroh Brewery Company, and its presence began to wane. By the early 2000s, Goebel beer had largely disappeared from store shelves. Although the rights to the brand are now held by the Pabst Brewing Company, which owns Stroh's brands, Goebel remains a largely forgotten name in the beer world. As we remember Goebel beer's rise and fall, let's explore another iconic beer, Hamm's Beer, to see how its journey mirrors the fate of Goebel. What lessons can we learn from these once-celebrated brews and their impact on the beer industry? Number 9. Hamm's Beer. Hamm's Beer, an iconic American lager, was brewed by the Theodore Hamm Brewing Company in St. Paul, Minnesota. Founded in 1865 by German immigrant Theodore Hamm, the brewery expanded from its local roots to become a significant player in the national beer market. By the 1960s, Hamm's had reached its peak, becoming a popular choice at barbecues and social gatherings across the country. In 1968, Hamm's hit a remarkable milestone, selling 7.8 million barrels, a testament to its widespread appeal. Its smooth taste and distinctive red can make it a recognizable favorite among beer drinkers. However, the 1970s brought significant changes to the beer industry, with consumer preferences shifting toward lighter beers. As a result, Hamm's, known for its traditional lagers, struggled to keep up with these new trends. Over the following decades, Hamm's underwent a series of acquisitions, gradually losing its independence. By the early 2000s, the once popular beer had faded from most store shelves. Despite its storied history and former prominence, Hamm's Beer remains a nostalgic memory for many. As we reflect on Hamm's rise and decline, Let's turn our attention to another notable beer, one that might offer additional insights into the challenges faced by iconic brands in an evolving market. Number 10. Hudepohl Beer. Hudepohl beer, a beloved Cincinnati staple, was brewed by the Hudepohl Brewing Company. Established in 1885 by Louis Hudepohl II, the brewery made a significant impact in the Ohio Valley by the 1960s. Hudepohl was renowned for its flavorful lagers and cream ales, which were perfect for enjoying at social gatherings and sporting events. The brewery's memorable slogan, Hudepohl, the friendly beer, resonated deeply with Cincinnati locals. However, the 1970s brought a dramatic shift in the beer industry. As consumer tastes evolved towards lighter beers and national brands gained dominance, Hudepohl struggled to keep pace. While some of its contemporaries were absorbed by larger brewing companies, Hudepohl faced increasing challenges on its own. Despite efforts to adapt, the brewery's fortunes waned. In 1986, Hudepohl merged with its competitor, the Schonling Brewing Company, in a bid to remain relevant. Unfortunately, this merger did not fully revive the brand's former glory. Over the subsequent decades, Hudepohl gradually faded from the market, becoming a nostalgic memory for many Cincinnatians. As we look back on Hudepohl's rise and decline, it's clear that the beer's story reflects broader trends in the brewing industry. Stay tuned as we explore another classic beer, revealing insights into the trials and triumphs faced by legendary brands in a changing market. Number 11. Lucky Lager. Lucky Lager, a celebrated Californian brew, was crafted by the General Brewing Company in San Francisco. Founded in 1933, just after the end of Prohibition, Lucky Lager quickly captured the public's imagination, becoming the second best-selling beer in 1933 California by 1937. Its crisp, clean taste and distinctive red, white, and blue can made it a favorite on the West Coast throughout the 1930s and beyond. Despite its early success, Lucky Lager's prominence faced challenges in the 1970s and 1980s. The rise of national brands and new brewing styles shifted consumer preferences away from traditional lagers. As Lucky Lager struggled to keep up, it went through several acquisitions, eventually ending up with the Pabst Brewing Company in 1999. While Pabst still owns the Lucky Lager brand today, it is no longer widely available. As Lucky Lager's California legacy waned amid evolving beer trends, another regional icon, Narragansett beer, stood out as a symbol of New England pride. Comparing Lucky Lager's crisp taste to Narragansett's smooth lagers offers a glimpse into how regional brewing traditions reflect the unique preferences and identities of their respective areas. Number 12. Narragansett beer. Narragansett beer, a cherished Rhode Island classic, was brewed by the Narragansett Brewing Company in Cranston, Rhode Island. Established in 1890, Narragansett soared to become the top-selling beer in New England by the 1960s. Its famous slogan, "Hi neighbor, have a Gansett," became a beloved catchphrase throughout the region. Known for its smooth, easy-drinking lagers, Narragansett became deeply ingrained in New England's culture and identity. However, the 1970s brought significant changes to the brewing industry. The rise of national brands and the emergence of new beer styles challenged traditional brews like Narragansett. The company struggled to compete and underwent several ownership changes, ultimately ceasing production in 1981. Despite this setback, Narragansett's story did not end there. In 2012, a group of dedicated investors revived the historic brand, bringing Narragansett back to the market. While it no longer holds the top spot in New England, the revival of Narragansett beer is a testament to its enduring legacy and the deep-rooted affection many still have for this iconic brew. Number 13. National Bohemian, Natty Boh. National Bohemian, affectionately known as Natty Boh, was a beloved Baltimore staple brewed by the National Brewing Company, which was established in 1885. By the 1960s, Natty Boh had become a cultural icon in Baltimore, with nearly 90% of its sales concentrated in the city. The beer was celebrated for its easy-drinking lagers and its whimsical mascot, Mr. Boh, a one-eyed, mustachioed character who embodied Baltimore's lighthearted spirit. The slogan, "The Land of Pleasant Living," perfectly captured the city's laid-back charm. However, Natty Boh's dominance was not meant to last indefinitely. The 1970s and 1980s saw a rise in national brands and shifts in consumer preferences, challenging local favorites. In 1979, National Brewing Company was acquired by Pabst Brewing Company. Although Natty Boh continues to be brewed today under the Pabst label, it no longer holds the commanding presence it once had in Baltimore. Number 14. Olympia Beer. Olympia Beer, a cherished Pacific Northwest brand, was brewed by the Olympia Brewing Company in Tumwater, Washington. Founded in 1896 by German immigrant Leopold Schmidt, Olympia quickly became known for its crisp, clean lagers. The brewery's famous slogan, "It's the water," emphasized the purity of the water source, which they claimed was key to their beer's distinctive taste. By the 1960s, Olympia had established itself as a regional powerhouse, peaking in 1976 with a solid 3.1 million barrels sold. However, the 1970s and 1980s brought significant challenges. The rise of national brands and shifting consumer preferences towards lighter beers undermined Olympia's market position. The brewery struggled to compete and went through several ownership changes during the 1980s and 1990s, eventually losing its local identity. Production at the historic Tumwater Brewery ceased in 2003. Today, while Olympia Beer is still owned by Pabst Brewing Company, it is brewed at a different location and no longer commands the same regional presence. This decline contrasts sharply with the enduring popularity and cultural resonance of Pabst Blue Ribbon PBR, which has managed to maintain a strong identity and loyal following despite the evolving beer landscape. Number 15. Pabst Blue Ribbon, or PBR, stands out as a unique case on this list. Unlike many of the beers we've explored, PBR never truly vanished from the scene. Originally known as Best Select, then Pabst Select, this iconic brand was established in 1844 by the Pabst Brewing Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The name Blue Ribbon comes from the company's tradition of placing blue ribbons on its bottles between 1882 and 1916. The official story claims that Pabst won America's Best Beer at the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, though some sources dispute this. By the 1960s, PBR had firmly established itself with a reputation for affordability and a crisp, refreshing taste. Its journey took a distinctive turn in the following decades. While many brands on this list faded into obscurity, PBR evolved rather than disappearing. In the 1970s and 1980s, it became associated with counterculture movements and budget-conscious consumers. Today, PBR has experienced a revival as a hipster favorite and a symbol of a bygone era's carefree spirit. Unlike the other beers yearning for a comeback, Pabst Blue Ribbon remains a relevant and enduring presence in the beer scene, albeit with a new cultural twist compared to its 1960s heyday. Number 16. Peel's Beer. Peel's Beer, a beloved New York favorite, was brewed by the Peel's Brothers Brewery, which established itself as a significant player in the Northeast during the 1960s. Founded in Brooklyn in 1881 by the Peel's brothers, the brewery was renowned for its light, easy-drinking lagers. Their memorable slogan, "Peel's Pilsner, it's Peel Good," perfectly encapsulated their brand's essence. Throughout its heyday, Peel's was a staple at backyard barbecues and corner pubs, building a dedicated following with its consistent quality and refreshing taste. However, the 1970s ushered in a period of transformation for the beer market. As consumer preferences shifted toward lighter beers and national brands, Peel's, which focused on traditional lagers, struggled to keep pace. In 1972, the company was acquired by Schaefer Brewing Company, and by 1989, it was absorbed by Pabst Brewing Company. Despite these acquisitions, Piel's beer gradually faded from store shelves. By the early 2000s, it had all but disappeared, leaving behind a nostalgic memory of a once dominant regional favorite. Number 17. Red Top Beer. In the 1960s, Red Top Beer, brewed by the Red Top Brewing Company in Cincinnati, Ohio, was one of America's cherished regional brews. Known for its crisp taste and smooth finish, Red Top Beer became a favorite across the Midwest, particularly in Ohio. It was a regular fixture at local bars and social gatherings, with impressive sales reaching over 500,000 barrels annually during its peak in the mid-1960s. Despite its popularity, Red Top Beer faced fierce competition from larger breweries and shifting consumer tastes. As preferences moved towards lighter lagers and mass-produced beers, Red Top struggled to maintain its market share. This decline ultimately led to its discontinuation by the late 1960s. As the crisp taste of Red Top beer lingers in the memories of those who enjoyed it, thoughts often turn to another iconic brew, Rheingold beer from New York. Could the nostalgia for Red Top's return rival the hopes for Rheingold's resurgence? Number 18. Rheingold beer. Rheingold beer, a storied icon of New York, was brewed by the Liebmann Brewery in Brooklyn. Founded in 1860 by the Liebmann family, the brewery enjoyed over a century of success. By the 1950s and 60s, Rheingold had achieved national acclaim, thanks in part to its memorable advertising campaigns and crisp Pilsner. The brand hit its peak in 1962, with an impressive 12 million barrels sold, securing its place as a major player in the American beer market. Rheingold was celebrated for its smooth taste, distinctive red, white, and blue can, and its famous slogan, Rheingold, the dry beer. However, the 1970s brought significant challenges. Rising labor costs and intense competition from national brands eroded Rheingold's profits. In 1964, the Liebmann family sold the brewery to Pepsi-Cola bottlers. Despite efforts to revive the brand through new marketing strategies, Rheingold struggled to adapt to changing consumer preferences for lighter beers. Production at the Liebmann brewery ceased in 1976, and the Rheingold brand gradually faded from store shelves. Although there have been recent attempts to revive Rheingold with new ownership, the brand has yet to reclaim its former prominence. Number 19. Quality ales, including the celebrated Ballantine 1 PA, known for its distinctive oak-aged flavor. The brewery's success was bolstered by its sponsorship of professional sports teams and a strong presence in advertising. However, the 1970s brought significant challenges for Ballantine Ale. The rise of national brands and a shift in consumer preferences toward lighter beers began to erode its market share. By the 1980s, the financial pressures on P. Ballantine and Sons Brewing Company became too great, leading to the cessation of Ballantine Ale production. Despite its disappearance, Ballantine Ale remains a notable part of beer history, representing an era when craft beers and regional favorites were at their peak. Recently, there has been a renewed interest in such classic styles, with some craft brewers even creating beers inspired by the legacy of Ballantine Ale. Number 20. F&M Schaefer Brewing Company. The F&M Schaefer Brewing Company, once a New York icon, was known for its Schaefer beer, a popular American-style lager. Founded in Manhattan in 1842 by the Schaefer brothers, the brewery quickly rose to prominence, becoming one of the most successful in the United States by the early 1900s. Schaefer beer gained a reputation for its consistent quality and easy drinking nature, famously promoted with the slogan, Schaefer, the beer of moderation. Despite its success, the 1970s and 1980s posed significant challenges. As consumer preferences shifted toward lighter beers and national brands gained ground, Schaefer struggled to keep up. In 1968, the company went public in a bid to bolster its resources, but this move did not suffice to combat the growing competition. By 1981, Schaefer was acquired by the Stroh Brewery Company, and production at its historic Brooklyn brewery ceased in 1986. Today, Schaefer beer is still brewed under the Pabst Brewing Company umbrella, which acquired Stroh in 1999. However, the brand no longer holds the prominent place it once did in the American beer landscape. Schaefer's story remains a testament to the dynamic shifts in the brewing industry and the evolving tastes of beer enthusiasts. As we wrap up our journey through the world of forgotten beers from the 1960s, we've explored a diverse array of once popular brews that have faded from the spotlight. From Schaefer's iconic status as a national favorite to Falstaff's rise and fall amid changing consumer tastes, each beer on our list tells a story of a bygone era in American brewing. As we look back with nostalgia, it's clear that each of these beers contributed uniquely to their time and place in history. Though their heyday might be over, their stories enrich our understanding of the brewing landscape and inspire a new generation of brewers and beer lovers alike. Thank you for joining us on this nostalgic journey through 20 forgotten beers. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content on the history and evolution of brewing. Share your thoughts and memories of these beers in the comments below. What's your favorite forgotten brew? Until next time, cheers to the stories behind every sip.